Hello, everyone. Today we have a guest called Dr. Altuğ Işıhan. Before we invite him in, I would like to give you a couple of information about him. He was born and raised in Germany by a Turkish family, and he received his bachelor and master's in film studies. He did his doctor's degree in game studies, and after 20 years in academia, he became a game designer. Currently works with Fujitsu. Please welcome Dr. Altuğ Işıhan.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the people at this university for inviting me to hold this brief seminar, lecture, whatever you call it. I'm really glad to see old and new Cypriot friends. Most of you probably don't know, but I spent 12 years of my life in Cyprus, and I worked at the university there. And I tried a lot to get game development and especially game design a more status on the island. Maybe making courses on games part of the curricula of universities. So that was back in the time when actually Yunus, our presenter, our beloved presenter, was still a student of mine. So I have some sort of a history in Cyprus, and it's not only as a teacher, but as someone who tried to advance the whole notion of game development and game design. So we did some nice stuff together. Yunus will remember we organized some game jams. But probably they were the first game jams ever organized in Turkish-speaking societies. And so it's really a great honor and a very great opportunity for me to be again with the great people over there. It's has been always a good memory for me, Cyprus in general. So many good and pleasant friends. So I'm glad to be here with you today and have a chance to speak to you and tell you something about what my profession is. It's I'm a game designer, and I have chosen as a title for this presentation launching a career in mobile game industry, and opportunities and risks. And I think it's a very classic name. It sounds a bit like these mainstream educational videos that you can download everywhere. So I chose a bit of a more formal name maybe for the presentation, but content-wise, I will be probably a bit more informal, more personal, and maybe a bit chaotic at times even, because I really don't like to go so clear cut and specific, and I definitely don't want to sound like these what do they say, career managers or yaşam koçu. I don't know what's in English, but life coaches, so that's a bit more ridiculous stuff, I think. So actually I want to start this seminar or this talk a bit about my own life, which I think is some sort of an example that the way you can enter an industry can take on very different ways, can be quite strange. So currently I'm a studio lead in a company, in a studio in Izmir. It's called Fujitsu, and it exists since 2 years. And this place is connected to a publisher in Istanbul called Joy Game. Maybe you have heard them. So I got in that company when I was over 50 years old. You could say it's very late to start a game career, but I think it's an example on how sometimes dreams can realize very, very late, or the notion that it's never really too late for anything. I think it's an example for that, because I think in most places, or I was of the opinion that a person would never be hired in a actually very young techno.
Altı
In
hocam,
huh, my sound, my voice.
o- 1 second, the sound cut out.
Mhm.
Could you please repeat the last sentences?
Yeah, of course I can do. So my thoughts in the game industry, but it turns out that that is not true. And in that sense, I think but it can be maybe seen as something that the bus or the train is never really gone. There's always somewhere a chance to go into these things. But what happened in between, and how did I come to this place at 50 years old? The thing is that as a child, I was actually very much into not only playing games but
Uh,
making games. Is my voice still
Al-
not good? Ses iyi değil mi? Şimdi nasıl Yunus?
Şu an ses temiz geldi.
Ha, görüntüm geldi mi?
Evet.
Niye böyle yapıyor? Bunu yapmaması lazım.
Şu an gayet temizdir. Tamam.
Ha, temizledik mi? Masanın öbür ucuna geçtim yani.
Bizim sesimiz temiz geliyor mu?
Evet, şimdi iyi geliyor. Okay, so I hope I can I hope we don't have any other technical problems here. So I was just trying to say that somehow the experience that I had was nothing like you would see anywhere in those papers that tell you what to do and what to expect, etc. So I arrived in this position after I was 50, and before that, actually, when I was a child, I was of course very interested in it. I was doing comic books and making games, but tabletop games as a child, and often to the dismay of my family, because they thought I would not study hard enough, and instead waste my time on drawing and doing stuff like that. But I think one thing that was already there was that I was really interested in these things. Maybe not even aware that I want to be a creative person. I was just doing it. And I think maybe this is an advantage for a person
You can
that
hear
wants.
us.
Gene mi yok yani?
We had a small hiccup on our side. I think it's fine right now.
Now? Şimdi iyi mi Yunus?
Şu an düzeldi gene.
Abi ne oluyor ya?
Bir dakika.
Bu benden mi kaynaklanıyor sizce, öbür sizin taraftan mı kaynaklanıyor, yoksa iki kıta arasındaki bağlantıda bir sıkıntı mı var? Sizin sesiniz
Altı hocam,
geliyor.
we have an issue with the internet on our side. We're trying to fix it.
Okay. Tamam. Sıkıntı
One
değil.
minute, please.
Hiç sıkıntı değil. Ama şimdi orada siz iş yapıyorsunuz falan. Ha?
Siz toplantıya gidecek misiniz?
Benim açım. İsterseniz oraya gidelim. Çünkü burada bir tık daha uzak kalıyorlar. Tamam. Yunus siz onu hallederken ben de benim Superbox'a daha yakın bir yere geçiyorum. Belki benimle ilgili bir problem vardır diye. Okey?
Tamamdır.
Tamam.
I think we've solved it right now. We can give it another try.
Okay, let's try it. So anyway, I think one of the things that was already there was that I had a genuine interest in creating and writing down or just making something, and that thing would continue. And later on, I think again, my interest continued like this, but it wasn't really games. It was a bit more like film. I started to like film over as time went by, but it's actually very related to each other, except the interaction part. When I was around 18 or so, I decided I want to be a script writer, and at that time, I'm talking about the late 80s, early 90s. You didn't have really a game design or a digital game design department. It was unimaginable. I think they even didn't have it in the United States at that time. So, of course, one of the closest things that you can do is to go and study film. And that's basically what I did. And then came another take in my life, I wanted to be a creative person working in the creative industry, but the university, it changed me a lot. I became intellectually a bit more invested into certain topics like aesthetics, philosophy, etc. And in the end, I turned out to become an academic again, not a director, not a game designer. So all of a sudden, I was an academic, and I stood in that area for a long time until I think it was when I was doing my PhD, and there was a moment where I thought, why am I doing this? Yeah, why am I doing a PhD in film? And that was I was 32 years at that time when I got that moment, and I thought like, I'm not happy, and it's not what I want to do. And I tried to remember my old times, like what was I happy doing when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and then I remembered I was drawing comics, I was making games at home and things like that. And that was for me the moment at 30 years of age that I decided, okay, I will be a game designer. And so how did that turn out? You see, after some 20 years, I finally made it. But there was a lot of indecision in my life all the time. I wanted to be a game designer, but at that time, uh, I'm in Turkey. You don't have really opportunities to work anywhere. But best thing you can do is you can learn the business, learn more to make about games, and then teach it at the university. And this is what I decided in the conditions that I was in. So I basically was in Turkey, was in Cyprus, but I invested my energy into learning and then teaching what I have learned. Um, but then I was a bit lucky because after the 2000s, there were more opportunities abroad, especially to work online in garage teams and things like that. So the first way I entered this business was actually um, I I I I hook up with a group of game developers in Nevada, I think. They were in a city called Reno, which is I think a bit to the east of Los Angeles, in the middle of the Nevada desert or something like that. And they were doing an RPG battle game, and so I knocked their door and hello, I'm a game designer, but no experience, etc. So they just took me in, and so they assigned me some roles, like okay, we have a magic system, so you design the magic system. And I'm like, a magic system, how do you design such a thing? I mean, theoretically you know a bit, but so I started to play games, looked into things, ordered books, etc., etc. And as I was doing my job, I was also trying to learn, and it was of course for free. I didn't earn anything. I worked in the evenings. On daytime, I was teaching classes at the university. But it was a first step, a very indirect step around the major industry, with a young group of people who um, wanted to make a game and try to sell it. But it was really a very naive group when I think back now. There was no game when I joined them, but they were already printing T-shirts for the game and were trying to sell this. So it was really um, uh, um, a strange experience, but it was a starting point for me. So I worked with these guys. Later I joined a group in Norway. Well, totally different place, totally different culture. They wanted to make a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, and you can imagine how big actually their thing was. And it was a group that had no funding at that time. So the, that experience, in that experience, I joined as a game designer, but I ended up as the right arm of the owner of the thing. I was kind of talking to investors and doing this kind of stuff. So it sent me in a totally different direction. Everything but game design. And then I worked with a German group on the remake of a game that I like a lot, XCOM, the XCOM series. Maybe some of you know that. And that was again a very interesting experience, because I had the chance to remake or redesign a game that I really loved to play. And so this is how I had my first contact with other game developers around the world. And in Turkey or in Cyprus, I don't think there were maybe some individual guys doing it, but the guys who were doing it, they were usually still abroad. Like there's a famous guy in Turkey, Mevlüt Dinç. Today he's very highly acknowledged, but in the 90s he was doing his game stuff in the United Kingdom. So uh, the market simply still did not exist. And so I was lucky to find guys up abroad and do stuff with them. And then this relationship developed. I kept digging for projects that I can join, looked for people that I can just do anything. And that's how I ended up in the IGDA, which is the International Game Developers Association. And at that time, I was already in Cyprus, and I'm this lonely guy there who probably the only person who's really investing his time in game design at that time, and I'm talking to these guys from America in an association that tries to organize the professionals there. And that was again a very interesting experience. That it brought me a lot of networks. I met so many people that made the games that I played as a child. That was, for example, amazing. You know, all those guys whose games you admire, suddenly you are able to talk to them. Suddenly you are able to do stuff together with them. We organize events, and you know, I'm that guy online from Cyprus. I mean, and they are the big guys. I don't know, Sid Meier, blah blah blah, and then these big, and you work with these guys together. So that was again a very interesting experience. But for me, the problem at that time was still that you could not really enter that thing. Experience wise, location wise, too far away. So sometimes I applied to jobs, but I got rejected or I didn't get any answers because it was already big business in the United States. How that changed, and before that changed, also I had a chance to talk to people from the Global Game Jam, and that was actually the first time when I had this idea. Okay, why don't we have a Global Game Jam in Cyprus? And Yunus will remember that time when, together with him, we um, started to organize these Global Game Jam things. Then some unfortunate events, actually, they caused me to leave Cyprus. I had to go, and that is when a lot of things changed. When I returned to Turkey, I found out that there was a developing environment in game design and game development, but not on the PC side. It was more about mobile games, and I think when we talk about opportunities today to enter the game business, I think the thing that has opened the field of opportunities is actually mobile game design, especially when you look for opportunities in this area, you will notice that when you think locally, yeah, Turkey, Cyprus, you will probably see people finding jobs in the mobile game industry. Not so much in PC because it's hard to earn money, it's hard to find investors. And console games, like making games for the Xbox or for the PlayStation, it's almost impossible because you need a foreign partner and you need to get the license, etc. And coding for that environment is entirely different from the other things. So you will probably not find an opportunity to work on console games unless you learn something or move out and learn it there and then maybe, but you will probably not come back once you're there. In PC, it's a bit different. Some people find more investment now because the foreign companies are looking now more into the second and third world countries. But some 10 or 15 years ago, that was not possible. You were just sitting at home with your friends doing it yourself, and probably no one was ever going to publish your game. But now you have some international publishers that want to do that stuff. But mobile games, they have immediately started as, I don't want to say the most democratic platform because it's owned by Apple, it's owned by Google or Android. But the thing is, in the mobile sphere, anyone can make a game and anyone can upload it on the store because your developer license is very cheap. You pay a one-time fee, $50 or whatever, and then basically you have a location where you can upload games. And so access to distribution channels um, is very, very easy. You just have to follow a few rules, you know. If you make plus 18 games, okay, they will check and ask you to change the rating, etc. But if you do fun, simple games that don't hurt anyone's feelings, you can go there very easily. And I think this was one of the cornerstones of jumping boards that made Turkey also a country among many others where people really saw they have a chance when they make a game. And apparently it looks now that at the moment Turkey is very strong in the mobile game area. And a lot of companies are coming from behind. And I would say at the moment, this is one of the opportunity areas where you can find something for you. Yani, I would even say that your background, whatever education you get, it's not so important. I can maybe talk about this a bit. Now, as you might guess, in the game industry, we have basically four areas that need to be covered. We have on one side the developers, the guys who are responsible for code. And there is always a need for these kind of people. And when you have a growing mobile market, especially, there will be a search for this kind of profession all the time. So if you are if you are in a computer sciences or in a software department, software engineering department, and think about entering the game development career path, I think you definitely have some chances, some good chances to get in there. And maybe the thing you should maybe care about is what they prefer as a coding environment. And you will see that Unity is kind of the top software development environment at the moment that is useful. And I see a lot of people with 1 year experience and they can still find a way into the industry. So this is one of the opportunities. When you try PC, it will not be so easy. Console will be almost impossible, but mobile is really the area where you want to look inside. And on the other hand, there is, of course, the art side. And here are a few, there's, of course, the whole world of modeling and animation in 3D. And you could say the same for 2D as well, 2D animations and 2D drawings. But again, if you go into the mobile world, you will probably not see so much 2D projects, but they will be more like 3D based models. It's almost an expectation right now. Whereas PC is very varied, I would say. But differences here are that the mobile world, when it goes into 3D, it has very highly established aesthetic principles. So what is one problem that most people face when they enter this industries, they don't get how simple the visual language must be. Yani, I can give you examples like when we think of games, we think of full-fledged characters, muscles, blah, blah, blah, and every hair is moving separately, etc. But in most of the mobile games, it's not like that. They want you to make a stick man, okay? And you don't really dramatize a lot. You don't need to use a lot of contrast. You don't use a lot of light and dark shadows and stuff like that. You avoid pattern and texture. And for most artists, it feels like when they get into the mobile area, that no one wants their skills. They think like, I can do so great things. Why do you want me to do a stickman? And so this is one of the problems, I think, that a lot of people who want to enter the a game development career face. They think people don't really want the don't people don't ask them to show their best. They think like, oh, okay, if they want a stickman, I can make them a stickman. And um, but there's one problem about this. Actually, it's not easy to make a good stickman. And to make a stickman really like a stickman is actually a challenge. So it's not like you do a low level version or a simplified version of what you're normally doing. You still have to give your 100% to make the right stickman. And I think this is some sort of a philosophical problem. Yeah, if people don't understand it, they either drift away from the industry because they think they are not challenged enough, or they lose their job because after a while the bosses think they are not motivated because most of the workers then think, yeah, it's enough when I do this. And so I think it's a problem. And if artists go into the other area like PC, then that's actually very different. So PC side actually demands a lot of style and a lot of ability. So I see the following problem there very often. You have a lot of these young people, the ones that love to draw manga, and the ones that like to draw these fat and musculous warriors and stuff, and like stuff like that. So some are a bit obsessed with realism, and as I said, the others are obsessed with manga kind of stuff. But in reality, when you go into the PC world, your palette of styles has to be broader. Not everyone is making manga games. Not everyone is making realistic games with these fat, musculous warriors. So you have to learn and deliver in a variety of styles. Sometimes it needs to be very cute. Sometimes it needs to be more pixelized and things like that. So again, there is this misconception of people that in the PC world, you have a big freedom and you can finally tell these dark stories about Japanese monsters and things like that. But the reality is different. People are making farming games. People are making supermarket games. If you go on Steam, you see that only a very small portion of these games are actually these super realistic, or I don't know, these manga type games. So there needs to be more variety there, and I think for a lot of people this is an entry barrier because they can't show the flexibility to do something softer, cuter, or okay, do something now which is closer to Disney style. They can't. They won't because again they are too much locked into this more eccentric approach to art. And maybe they despise Disney, maybe they despise the cute style, or some of them they are so much into Japanese they can't do anything else. So again, this needs a shift, a change in mentality. Yani, actually maybe one has to accept that until you can realize your dreams about games when you enter the industry, you have to wait a lot, and you have to often do things that are very different from what you expect, what you like to do, etc. I mean, I can give an example from design, which is another area where you can find yourself a job in the game industry. Personally, I really like these strategy games, RPG games. I like to city building, army building, things like that. So, huge fan of Rise of Nations, for example. But when I got into the industry, uh, it, it was not like I was going any type of the games I like to do. I was in the hyper casual business, and what we did was we were watching TikTok videos all day to see what the trend is, and then let's say we make a game about how people walk on milk crates and try not to fall down, and you know silliest topics that ever exist, but it was my job. So I could not say, I'm not going to make such a silly game, or what kind of topics are these? Um, that was the thing that the trend told us this will be popular and we can make money with it. So we sat down and made a game like this. Or, I mean, obviously, I'm a 50 years old man, and I don't have any dolls at home that I can, dress them and do makeup and stuff like that. But we were involved in these kind of games. Okay, so you sit down, you try to learn, you look into resources, etc. You cannot say I don't do games for girls, or I don't understand this, or it's silly, it's just silly girl stuff. You cannot look at things like this. You sit down, you take it serious. You play a lot of games about dressing dolls, about doing makeup, about fashion contests and things like that, and you try to understand. And after a while, I mean, when you look at what I follow in TikTok, it's like it looks very strange, but there are a lot of places related to female fashion that I do follow because it's part of my job. Uh, I know about the trends about making nails, making hairs, because I follow it. So because it's the popular thing. It's the thing you can earn money with. So you follow that. You when you see a chance, you want to tell your other designers, okay, look, I saw this, and it looks very popular at the time, at this time. So why not making a game about it? So again, there's a lot of flexibility needed. Now, in design, I want to be a bit more specific here. I mean, for developers, it's clear you should have computer sciences or software engineering background and educational degree in that. And for artists, it's probably a good idea to study in an art faculty or in an animation department where you learn the tricks of the trade, basically. But for game design, it's a bit more different. Um, we have game design departments only since a couple of years. It's not even 10 years, I think, that it started. So one thing about design is that I don't want to say like everyone can be a designer. What I want to say is that designers can actually come from much more different backgrounds when compared to other branches. So maybe you do a major in sociology. It's good for becoming a designer. Maybe you study psychology. It's good for becoming a designer. Maybe you're in an architecture department. It's good for becoming a designer. Industrial design, very good for a designer. You study statistics. I don't know, or a similar branch about small economies and things like that. It's good. You can be. It works for designers. So we could somehow say that the whole area of the humanities lends itself. English literature, French literature, comparative literature. These are departments that help you. Um, Film or radio television is a bit more like the animation or the art departments, but since it often involves script writing, it's also very helpful. I think script writing, or generally a knowledge of literary figures, is a good thing for a game designer to know. But what I want to stress is that here, uh, uh, the ability to think critically is probably standing out most when it comes to game designers. Um, when you can empathize with other people, with their needs, that really helps, because basically designers make products that others will use. You know, not just make but design them. So when we make something, we always have to think about the experience of others, and that's something special. You have to be aware of what others think and feel and what they like and etc. And in the background in humanities, any background where you have to think of how an audience reacts, or to what you give them, that will help you. So sociology is good, psychology is good, because it's always about how humans live, how they react to things, etc., etc. So it gives you a basis, and I think that what makes design different. But there's one thing that, of course, designers also need to know. They need to know game design concepts. Um, they come partly from the arts, partly they come from product design. So that's why I say an industrial design is really a good background. Um, so they have to back up their social skills with these kind of design skills. So it's a very complex maybe area. It stands really at the crossroads of all of these. But the strange thing in the industry is that game designers are probably the most less understood people also in the industry, because uh, a lot of people think that just because they played a lot of games, they know a lot of things about designing games. Or a lot of people do not really understand what a game designer does. So they think we're just these guys that have ideas, and everyone can have ideas, right? So what is this guy doing specially? Yeah, he's not really doing something. We don't need a designer, but in reality, it's really totally different from that. And we do a lot of things for a game, and one can tell if a designer misses in a project. You can definitely feel it, because it will often not work out. It will not work out without a designer. But since this area is so vaguely defined, it's probably one of the more difficult, maybe, branches to put in your foot into the industry. Um, and maybe they ask for experience that otherwise they don't give you. So you have these kind of little problems. And there's a fourth area, which is also important in the industry, and that's data analysis, marketing, what we call publishing in general, and that involves a number of roles. We need people who can read data. We need people who can do a specific kind of marketing. we need people who know the digital marketing world, where you get advertisings from, how they are embedded into games, how the whole thing works, how this whole monetization system works. So this is another area. Again, we see a lot of people, not really from the game industry, but we see a lot of people who have digital marketing experience somewhere else, who then get an offer and try their luck in the game business. So you have people that work for banks, you have people that work for big online shops, etc. So that would be another career path that you can enter, that you could maybe enter this area. And we have a few other specific roles here that are hard to define, because I don't think it's something that the educational world recognizes. For example, you have a role called a publishing manager, which I don't think is anywhere taught. It's not even mentioned in a lot of classes. But a publishing manager is basically a guy who can follow trends, and then based on the trends, who can judge whether a product is good to go with, or if we should rather stall it and put it aside. And he's also a guy who can help game studios to go through this process of making that product in a way that will be according to the trend. And he's then also the person who can read the data and make decisions about what needs to be changed in the game. So you see, this is a role where there is data involved, where there is trend um, trend following is involved, where some sort of design work is involved, where teamwork or guiding studios is involved. So this is, for example, a very interesting position. And it's also the person who maybe decides how much money to spend on marketing a game or not. And so there are also some fiscal responsibilities here. And I don't think it's something they teach you, or I don't think it's anything that is taught at university. I have never seen any department that has any class or lecture or anything related to that, publishing management or publishing manager. So this is an interesting role, and I think you start from somewhere and then you find yourself in that position. So I just wanted to say that these are the basic ways of entry nowadays, and that in Turkey probably your biggest bet, your best bet is to look for a chance in the mobile game industry. Um, why do I emphasize mobile? There's another reason for that. At the moment, 60% of all game revenue, yani of all the whole of the game industry, I think it produces now 200 billion a year. The whole game industry, including mobile, console, PC, and other handhelds, maybe other VR, AR. It's 200 billion business, and 60% of that today comes from mobile phones. That's a crazy number. Yeah, and mobile games are stronger than PC and console combined. You can imagine how big a market that is right now, and that's the reason why it's really an opportunity to get in from there. And I tried to tell you some of the roles that that exist there. Um, the mobile business. I mean, if you don't want to join a studio but want to do something yourself, there are also options for that. Especially in the mobile business, it's if you have a good project, if you have a good team, if you can show people that you have a plan and you have the people to pull it through, you have probably a high chance to get financial support from venture capital. A lot of people want to invest into mobile games. Um, of course, it's hard for a very young and inexperienced team to get that, but you can actually find smaller groups that would support the first project. Sometimes you can apply for governmental funds. Some governmental funds, they will cover some of your expenses. They will give you an office where you can start with your work, etc. So I see a lot of people trying to go this indie studio path in the mobile world. And what they do is they try to have a basic group that can rapidly, but at a level of certain quality, can create prototypes and then go to publishers and try to um, get an agreement with them. And then basically through the publishers you can start to finance yourself, and maybe if you make a hit game, you can quite make a life for yourself if you're lucky enough. It's not happening very often, but it's a path that a lot of companies are running down right now. So probably in Cyprus, there's also something we call a technocant or technology city. In Turkey, we have them now everywhere. And you will see a lot of people, three, four, five groups of people coming together, joining some incubation centers, where they get an initial support until they have one product ready, and then a lot of publishers and other interested sides, they would come and see, what do you have, and if they like it, you can get a deal with them, or they will agree to take your game and test it on their platforms, etc. So there are these kind of opportunities as well. So the individual opportunity is, whatever your profession is, try to get a job that fits your skills and take a step into the industry like that. The indie way is, come together as a group. Or some people, they do it even as a one-man show. If you're very skilled in all the areas that I talked about, design, art, and development, you can even go as a one-man show. Or some teams are just two people. But it's another thing to make your own game and then and try to get support, go to incubation centers, etc. And you would rather easily find them here. Um, Yani, some maybe I can talk about some risks here as well. Um, to be honest, I don't see any risks on the individual level. You just try, and risks are very similar to every place. You get hired, but it's a bad environment. You get hired, but the company apparently doesn't know what they're doing, and so you get disillusioned, etc. Go out. Maybe you're underpaid. Maybe you do over hours, etc., etc. So sometimes you can really come across not the best places to work, and if you see that as a risk, it's okay. But in the longer term, I would say since 2020, uh, to be in the game business, it's, I think, ranked as one of the it's ranked as one of the top 5 jobs. Yani, together with genetic engineering and some other AI engineering, etc. Together with these kind of jobs, it's listed in the top 5, and it looks like you can have a good career in this area if things work out for you. So in that sense, it's it's not risky, I would say. Um, what I see as a risk for people who have not yet graduated and entered the area is some of the people, they are too keen, too eager to join the industry before they got their degree. So I see people in their first year already looking for jobs, etc. And the thing is that it will not work. Um, you will get either rejected because you're too inexperienced. The other risk is that they will say, okay, yes, come work for us, but they will say, but we don't pay you any money because you're a student, or we pay you only a quarter of what we pay to people. So they will probably give you a lot of work for really a little bit of money. And the risk that you face here is that you will prolong school, you will maybe fail at school, and it will cost you your diploma. And you should never allow that, I think. Um, the diploma is really something different. It sets you apart from that world. Because once you have the diploma, once you're a graduate, even if they call you a junior artist, junior it's you're no longer a student. You're treated differently in your job applications, in your bargaining for the salary. It changes something. Um, you see a lot of people who say like, they don't teach anything at school, blah blah blah, and having this big talk about how universities are useless, etc., etc. But believe me, it's those people who will ask for your diploma when you apply to a place. So in other conversations, they're just doing this trash talk, but in reality, they ask for the diplomas. So you should never stunt your education just because you want to be in the industry. It's not running away. It's not going anywhere. Um, you should focus. You have 4 years at the university. You should really just read like hell and work like hell and make yourself a competent, knowledgeable person. That's really because university is like heaven. You have these 4 years where you have no other responsibility than filling your brain and making your hands work. And you should only care about that. Uh, not lending yourself to things that have to happen in the future, not giving up on what you know. The jobs that they will give you as a neydi şey stajyer, uh,
Intern.
as an intern, it will never teach you the things that you really need. Yeah, okay, and it's too short anyway. So you should really work on developing your skills, your abilities, your knowledge. So reading and exercising what you have learned is what you should do for 4 years, and then when you graduate as a more matured person, then you can try to sell your skills and see if you can land a job. But killing your education for anything, it makes no sense. It's probably the biggest risk or the biggest problem that I see in young people. They're impatient. They think, yeah, what will happen? Oh, I have lost already everything, and it kind of hurts me when I see 20 years old people thinking like they have already wasted their life. It's so unrealistic. I mean, you're just 20, nothing is running away. Nothing that you think you're missing is missing. It will be all there. You can trust the world in that. It will be there. There will be something for you, like for so many, like it is there for so many people. And to make sure that it is there is not to run into it prematurely, but be patient, build up yourself, and when you then enter, it will be there. So I think that's one of the risks I see in what a lot of people are doing. Now, I will ask Chadash to open this slide quickly, if he's there, if he can open it, if he hears me. Çağdaş duyar mısın beni?
Yes, sorry.
Ha, açtın Çağdaş. Tamam. Okay, so there are a few other tips that I have for people, and it's more from the perspective of a game designer, but I will briefly summarize these things. I think it's different from the advice that you know, like professional consultants who tell you, okay, these are your best ways to enter the industry, etc. These are very personal things, notes. I will quickly go through them because I think it's related. Yeah, how can you be more prepared to the industry and avoid risks, and be ready for opportunity? And this, what I will tell you here, is more about the mindset. If you are in the game, if you are interested in the game industry, so the mindset, blah blah blah. Okay, the first thing is, if you want to do this, you don't need to wait for the industry. Just start making games. Anything, card game, board game, it doesn't need to be digital. You will soon see when you're in the industry that you don't need, for example, if you want to design, you don't need to make code. It doesn't need to be digital. You can just try to make any game. Make a game about the local farm market. I don't know. Make a game about film production. Anything. Make a silly card game. Make a variant of solitaire. I don't know. But start making games. You can make them with anything at home. With anything at home. When I have game ideas, I don't really draw them, and I just go to the kitchen. I find some beans for the economy. I use rice for the armies. Okay, and I play with them and see if my idea makes any sense. And if it makes sense, then I can maybe find some talks, etc. But if you want to do this, if you really like to make games, make games. If you want to make game art, make game art. Okay, so this is really very important. You don't need to wait. Just start doing it. Second thing, I talked already about it. A degree, it changes so much. The whole perception about you changes. You will suddenly grow overnight. To You will become a person that's taken serious in a bargain about a job. Before that, they will always treat you like a child. So a degree is important. And when I say get a degree, I don't mean it in the only in the pragmatist term. I don't talk about it like a token. Getting a degree means being a person of a certain degree. So it involves read a lot, study a lot, repeat, do the things that you plan to do in the industry, do them a lot. So use those 4 years, because they will be the only 4 years where you have your whole time to invest in yourself. Later, it will be not possible. You will work 8 hours, there will be less time to read the book, there will be less time to study something, you will marry, you will have children. Okay, so this is the kickstart. It's very important. Use these 4 years. I beg you. Then another thing, I have seen this in the industry and in many other places as well. It's not a game designer, it's a game designer. Okay, we have to be careful about language. Not only English, which is standard, you have to know English, fluent, because wherever you work, there will be some English partners, something like that. So English is the basic language where you have to know it, but more so of your own mother tongue. If you should really be a good reader and writer and have proper grammar, and not a person is typos all over the place. A person who can express himself, because you will be dealing with teammates, with investors, etc. So when someone is not really in good command of language, usually the person somehow looks stupid, or we're not so sure about how smart that person is. So make sure you make sound when you make sense when you say or write something. Okay, it's really important. Be in good command of your mother tongue and of English. Be careful about it. Whatever you write, maybe make it look proper. It's very easy to prove, to check whether you make typos, etc. So many programs are there, so many online dictionaries, etc. So it's really not a long shot to be a better speaker, reader, writer, and listener. Okay, so this is also the language aspect is very important. I never have seen anyone who suffered from being too good in a language. It's always an advantage. So keep that in mind. Another point is that a lot of people think if they just play enough games, they know everything they need to enter the game industry. But that's far from being real. You have to feed the head. So reading is an important part of it. I don't know what method you use for reading, online in your Kindle or whatever that is, real books. I really don't care. But what I try to say is that stimulating yourself intellectually, not only with games but with other things in life, is very important. And basically, game design is game development. It works with concepts, and these concepts, how they work and stuff like that, is explained in a lot of books. It's why you are at university. A lot of people think it's boring, we don't do anything here, blah, blah, but you're not simply at the university to do something. You're at the university to read and study. So you should be aware what a university means. It's not only, it's not a technical school. It's not a 3 months course where you can learn how to give shape in Blender to something, etc. It's more about what kind of concepts are guiding me when I try to create a character, and for that you have to look into written resources as well. And another thing is that, as anyone in the game industry, not only the game designer, but we are not players, we are not gamers. We are on the other side of the screen. So our concern is not like the concern of a gamer. A gamer just says, "Oh, that was fun. Oh, that was bad." Okay. They don't sit down and really try to understand why something is good or bad. They just take the fun and enjoy it, and if it's not there, they close it. And but we on the other side of the screen, we have to ask ourselves, why don't they like it? Why don't they play more than 15 minutes, etc.? So we have to give the answers to that. And we are the designers. We use concepts, we use certain design tools to achieve that. So we are not simply gamers that do their dream job, you know. earning money while making games. There is more behind it than just what you think a game is based on your gamer character. It's a full-time job. It's not a game on the other side of the screen. It's a product. You try to sell it. You have to understand how it works for the people. You will be responsible when it doesn't work for the players. You have to understand, etc. So it's anything but being a gamer when you're on the other side. A totally different set of responsibilities and concepts is at play. So you should be aware of that. Another thing, of course, is very important that you uh, re- learn, repeat, test, try yourself. You should be constantly um, try to get better, adjust to things that don't work, change them. So you have to be always very dynamic when you do this. Yani, it's not like you can wait there and sit and never change and then expect the world will understand you. The world will go ahead and you have to adjust to the world. So it's really important to be dynamic, flexible, etc., and stuff like that. Um, to be open to new things, and the world adapts very quickly, changes very quickly, especially if you will be in the mobile world. Nothing is the same even after 3 months. Trends go up, trends go down, etc. So you have to keep the eyes open and try to change yourself when you need to. I can give you maybe this example when I saw, for example, that these Korean pop groups, not only make money for themselves, but now movies are coming out, games are coming out, etc. And now I'm just buying journals about Korean pop groups, but it's obvious it's for 13 year olds, right? Stickers, posters, but I don't know any of the guys, etc. But I'm buying these because I want to know what's in there and what people feel about it. And one day, if my company tells me we're going to make a K-pop game, I will be probably more ready than other people because I have looked into it. So what I say is keep your eyes open, etc. Look around, and follow the world, and then try to change as good as you can. Learning the industry is, of course, important. There are a lot of platforms from which you can follow what's going on in the industry. I'm not talking about only about job websites where you can look for jobs, but there are a lot of professional industrial websites. For example, one of them is Game Developer. In the past, it was Gamma Sutra, but it's a very well frequented place where the whole actors of the game industry from all over the world, they are there. So you should, for example, subscribe there, and from there move on to and look what else is there. They have forums, they have discussion places. The IGDA is another forum where you can talk. So get inside and ask your questions to these people. Listen to them, just what they are talking about. When they share their problems, you learn about a lot of things that you weren't aware. So spend that time. You can prepare yourself for how it is already by going and learn a bit about the industry and connect early with the people there. Finally, and I think that's really very important, uh, don't be a prick. Don't be that person, who knows better than everyone, who is rude, who thinks that just because this is his worldview, that everyone would think the same way. We should be aware that half of society is made up of women. we should be aware that our national identity is not the only one in the world to be proud about, that other people are also proud about a lot of other things. We should be respectful when it comes to gender preferences, not making fun with what people are feeling. There's really no need to be a prick, because the world is diverse. Uh, the world has a lot of variety, a lot of thoughts, and you will see this in your own work. I mean, you will make a game, and then you will see that a 8-year-old boy from Colombia and a 60-year-old woman from Indonesia will play your game. And what do they have in common? We don't know, but as humans, they arrive at your game. So it makes no sense to just think about your own taste, what you like to do. It's so useless, also, I think. Um, the world is really very big, and it has a lot of different things to offer, and we are not the only example of what it means to be a human. A lot of human experiences are possible, so being respectful to it is really important, because you will see when you enter the industry, it's still a very much male oriented place, and they will think like everyone loves war games, everyone loves cars, etc. But it's not like that. In the mobile business, 60% of players are women. So more over 55, and it's not just half to half. Yani. We have a lot of areas where it's like women. And so we don't have uh, we can't afford to make fun of people to which we will try to sell our games. We need to respect, we need to understand what they think. Uh, and that starts with respect. So, uh, as I say, don't be a prick. So this is another thing that is my advice. So these are my advices as a person, how you would be individually more ready for the industry. So I made this quite long, I think, and I hope it wasn't boring to you guys, but to you ladies and gentlemen. But here's my
Thank
LinkedIn handle. You can connect from LinkedIn if you like. I would be happy uh, uh, to be connected to anyone who is interested. Sesin bir gidip geliyor Yunus.
thank you, Altu Hocam. Is there
Yeah.
anyone who would like to ask a question?
Or do they all want to run away because I talk too much?
Actually, it would be nice if you could also answer a question, because many students came to me the other day and asking me about this AI. They somehow have a
AI.
fear that
Oh,
AI is gonna take their jobs. what,
I'm
what
not
would
an
sense?
I'm not an AI expert. I wish I could really answer you in regard to these technical aspects of AI. But what I can say is that it's already there. We use it in art. We use it in design uh, as a shortcut for certain things, because it's easy. It's kind of easy to use, but it's not yet a full solution to everything. Yani, the moment we just discussed it an hour ago or 2 hours ago with our friends at lunch, and will there come a time where I just ask AI, okay, make me this kind of game, and it kind of spits it out for me, and is that everything gone, and will we all lose our jobs, etc. But it's not really fully working like that. Um, but it becomes more and more integrated and part of work processes. Yani you can now do some research or just ask for creative options. Just enter something. I want a snowman, but I want him to be a GB character, and I want him to look like a devil, and blah blah blah. And the group, it spits you out an idea for that kind of a character. And if you like, you can continue with it, etc. And a lot of people are now asking AI to write part of their code, and blah blah blah. It creates that code, but of course, you have to check, you have to run it, and you have to see if it works, etc. Um, so it's not like this can be. It's not. It's there, but it has not significantly changed some of the processes that exist. But it will change some of the things. And in the future, probably they will, because what it helps you in is maybe efficiency. And it doesn't really erase the need for a human thinker, uh, but it can be very fast. Instead of spending 8 hours to drawing a concept, you just ask that thing, and it creates you something that's maybe much better than anything you could have created in that time. So these kind of shortcuts are there. Or you can try it, get into chat GBT, and just say like, I want this kind of a game, and blah blah blah blah, and then what do you suggest? And it gives you the outline for a game design document. Yeah. And
And
maybe you
it also creates codes, and you can also
yeah,
write what kind of game you want, and it
yeah,
creates that code,
yeah,
create a kind of game. So you said now it doesn't take a game or anything, but I'm not sure near future because it's developing very shortly, let's say. So in 6 months we will be talking different things because of it. So
yeah,
I think this is my opinion. I believe that we have to get on well with that. So we have to
yes,
learn
yes.
more about it, yeah, and adapt it in our professional lives and as much as in our daily lives.
Yes. So maybe the next time I will ask AI if it can create a fake seminar on opportunities and risks in the game industry, right? And it will then create a 1.5 hour talk. And instead of appearing myself here, I will just upload that video there, and and maybe interactively AI will answer the questions in real time, etc. So
You know,
how do
there
we
is a there is a show in a country I don't remember, but
Mm,
the first time that AI
mm,
won in front of human beings, there was
yeah,
a what
mm,
was it? Well, I really don't remember the name of that show, but it was about the kind of information and knowledge show. It was a kind of
yeah, mm.
Hmm, yok bilgi yarışması.
Ah,
Yes,
so
and I really don't remember its name, but AI one human being.
yeah. I mean,
Have you seen
but
it?
I think
Both.
maybe I don't know how far they can take it. I mean, at the basic level, it is already useful, but a lot of things are being still in debate, etc. But what I see is that, I mean, uh, just here in this studio, for example, I have a modeler friend here, And for example, he's all the time, there, and he's trying to experiment, like what kind of models he can make, and he's all the time experimenting with AI, and probably it helps him also in making things faster and more efficient, or getting ideas and things like that. So just as curious humans, we are already dealing with AI. For example, we don't write game descriptions anymore. Really, we just ask Bart to write us a description for a game of this sort, and oh, we get a perfectly written text that we can put in on the Apple or the Android store. So some things get redundant somehow, but the risk with AI still is that
Yeah.
it's a bit what it produces on in some regard is very ne derler, aynı
Generic.
şekilde is yeah, it's too generic, it's too homomorphous, and you can ask for 10 other games and it will approximately give you that kind of a description. So it there is some sort of an idealized common sense from which it speaks. It's always kind. And humans aren't like that. You know, Humans are sometimes kind. Sometimes they go for a different style. They can be really bad sometimes. And I think what we see in AI is still that it's, let's say, role playing capacity. Uh, the voice, the thing that speaks there, it still looks too uniform. Yani when you ask it, it can imitate to you certain things. You can say like, okay, now write me a dialogue in Old English between blah blah blah, and there's a sorcerer and a Wilmamne, I don't know, something, and it will write the dialogue in Old English, but it will
And
probably feel like any of the other dialogues that it would create that are not in Old English. So what I think is the individual style thing, rhetoric, um, wordplay, irony, things like that. I think they're still hard to produce. That's why they will still need people like us and teachers for a few while, for a short while. We still will be able to work. But I don't know for the other ladies and gentlemen here that are in their 20s. Maybe Skylab will send the Terminators, and I don't know, they have to fight for survival. I don't know. In Terminator 2, it says the year 2029, it's. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Anyone has any questions?
any comment? Any experience you want to share?
I don't hear.
Yes.
Mikrofonu ver. Mikrofon.
Examples. Hello,
Hello.
my name is Wexler. I'm from, in general, department.
Uh-huh.
The AI nowadays used from the game industry. 'Cause I saw some example, new modern game designers used AI stuffs which are not bringing something new. They just use the program in at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about this kind of methods in the gaming industry?
Okay, I think uh, on my part, I would say people do a lot of things when new stuff comes out, and personally, I'm not so much concerned about what they do because I have a ton of things myself to do in my own studio. So some people are trying this, and basically the machine is doing everything, but they present it as if they have been very creative in something, etc., etc. So you see that, of course. You see also a lot of people who actually try to use this in a very creative way, maybe helping us to open up new, ne derler ona? New,
New
new,
avenues.
not new avenues, new central intervals, like developing new ideas, new thoughts that help us to discover something about the human experience, more like a poetic function, like what poets try to do. Some people try to do something like that. But in the game industry itself, it's a bit more practical. You want creativity, but you also have your genres and your blah blah blah, and some people go like this, and some people, they show themselves like, oh, these big innovators, because there's money in it. When you look like an innovator, some people come and, okay, do this for me, do that for me. But I think it will be in time that the people that do something more special, and the people that just make the machine do the thing for them, but pretend like, oh, they have done something very creative with the thing. I think over time this will be told apart. They will be told apart, and the more significant things, they will leave a bigger impact. But for now, the thing is that AI is the big hit. Everyone talks about how it will be take over everything, etc. And of course, what happens is that the bosses, especially company owners, they are interested in what can be done with it, what can be done more efficiently, what kind of jobs can we eliminate with this. uh, can we automatize the creative process? Can we automatize something about this, etc.? So they look at it a bit more of efficiency tool, basically a tool that creates efficiency, a tool that cuts the costs, basically, because cutting the costs is usually the most important thing. And is it something that can help us in marketing? Is it something that can reach help us to reach people easier? So I think to a great extent, what AI, what how the usefulness of AI is defined, it depends actually a lot on what the bosses expect from it, and what they want us to do with it. Um, some places, they go a bit more really smart about this. I see already some French, especially some French companies, mobile game companies, they have, and some Israeli companies also, they have really, I think, sat down and have thought about how this AI can be really efficiently used in the game design processes, etc. And you see how some aspects of their game is influenced by it. Um, but what I agree with you is that a lot of it is less creative or less significant than people show it to be. That's basically what you were saying. I think that some people, just do something very simply with AI, and then they are like, boom, I made the biggest thing in the world, and oh, look how creative. And but it's not. I mean, it's very transparent. You can see what happened there, and it's not really that kind of creativity. So you could say like these are a bit more of the charlatan type, uh, and charlatans will be there. There will be always people claiming they have done big things when actually it wasn't like that. But I think some honest people are also out there, and already very smart people who make smart use of AI and therefore in total become smarter in what they are doing, and they get the benefits from it. And it's in the corporate world, so they get the benefits of it. It means they earn more money than others, basically. So maybe the general problem here is that you can't separate AI from money, so it will be always more considered in its usefulness for making profit. And so that's the story for me. Yani. Personally, I
Yes.
don't use it very much, I must say. I can still work with my traditional methods. But if my company would really push for a change, I had to sit down and learn more about it.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Yes, Yuri.
Yuri,
Wait.
bizim Ergenç'e benziyor bu çocuk. Yunus.
Hello, my name is Yuri,
Hello,
and
Yuri.
I have a question about the tendency you mentioned with the industry, where artists are required to make less effort, like a stickman. Yet stickman still requires some knowledge of how to make a proper stickman. But
Yes.
I had this thought that maybe less effort nowadays results in more profit from everything you mentioned.
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. So it's like getting the highest out of the less investment, yeah, making more with less, etc. So I agree to a certain degree with you, Yuri, about on this, but I think it's in the mobile industry, and it was also hard to learn for me. The mobile industry, the players, these are usually people that do not know so much about the world as we think they know. With that, I don't mean they are ignorant. But for example, we know Star Wars, right? Everyone knows Star Wars. But no, I mean, a lot of 60 years old housewives who are playing a match 3 game, they don't know about Star Wars. They probably, when they had their children and when their children were growing up reading Star Wars, they were maybe telling them, what's this stupid things, put them aside, go study, etc. Or they don't know about our favorite TV shows. They don't know Sherlock. They don't know blah blah blah. I don't know. They didn't go to the cinema and watch Barbie and things like that. They have no idea about Oppenheimer, things like that. Okay, and so first of all, these are people that do not have much of the references that we assume they would have. This is one thing for simplicity, and this is one reason why instead of making a character that refers to the Transformers or that refers to Indiana Jones, you rather make a stickman to not to confuse the people, or not to add things that they will not get the reference anyway of it. Okay, as an example. The second thing is in the mobile games especially, people play very short times. They play a level for 30 seconds. They play maybe for 5 minutes in the break, in the toilet, when they smoke a cigarette, when there's a break in the meeting, etc. So it's not a long time investment in most of these games. It's more a short time investment, and you need to have a lot of clarity in your game to immediately tell them what is the topic, what is the story here, who is the main character, where are we, what are we doing, teaching the mechanic, teaching the controls. You don't have 1 hour to tell them everything about the game. Often you have 15 seconds. So for that clarity, it will be very strict. We have a figure ground, we have a background. Figures can have a bit of pattern and texture. They can have a bit of maybe uh, light and shadow contrast, etc. But when we go to the background, we already eliminate these things because we want the character to be seen clear. We want the enemy to be seen clear. We are very clear about the color codes. If something is not good for us, it's red. If something is good for us, it's green. If something is a special item, it's blue. So the coding, the color coding, etc. So it's everything reduced to the basics. And the goal here is clarity. But the thing here is that clarity that clarity doesn't mean I can just do some shitty things and put it in the game, right? To the opposite, when you look into these mobile games, you will see how they stick with the clarity principle, but how they can still have very subtle and nice touches in the environment and the character, etc. And so it's more about that, to know that there is a limit. You must follow the clarity principle. You must follow a very clear figure background relationship. Your lighting has certain basic things. You cannot have very dark shadows. You cannot have pattern and texture everywhere because it creates competition for the eye. Yani if I show every leaf on the tree, it will stand out more than the character that I control. So I turn that tree something into some sort of a silhouette in the background. So it's all these things that you keep in mind, but then you still try to make it beautiful. And I think that's important, and that requires you still to pick the right colors, to still arrange the right kind of light. So it is being simple and clear, but still in a beautiful way. And so I don't think it's basically like make it cheaper so that we have to pay less or etc. It's not like that. It's really a specific language in an industry, in a certain platform, in a genre. It's a specific language. You have to understand that language. It might look very cheesy. It might look very easy, but actually it's not. So while I agree that it is kind of also making everything a bit cheaper, on the other hand, I think it has to do with the audience and with the way you have to communicate with this audience. Because if you make it more complex than this, you don't get results. People don't understand the references. People don't know how to read it. People don't understand the gameplay. Don't understand the controls, the mechanics, etc. So how can I say that? Bilal'e anlatır gibi yani. You have to be very
So one more question.
evet, very clear about it. Yes,
It might be a personal question, but as a 3D junior artist, how can the portfolio piece is best quality? Like when you are applying job and giving the personal projects, who is gonna hire? Like
Yeah, no, okay. This is now a question that I can't really answer because I'm not a technical artist or on the art side of things. I'm not hiring any artists. I never have really done some interviews with artists. But I think when you go on certain sites where people share their portfolios, you will probably see some people that stand out with what's in their portfolios. So I would say one example would be to follow what these people do. You can, for example, I think, but I don't know, my 3D modeler is looking from the other side at me, and maybe he will think I'm lying or something. But I think there are a number of specific technical skills when making a model, be that the poly count or other things that you know. So what I see in a lot of art portfolios is how people show their strength in that particular thing, you know, showing a skill about how you can deal with this thing in ZBrush, showing an example of how you can make a very nice looking thing, but with this poly count and things like that. So maybe the thing would be that you can be efficient. Okay, yani, I think efficient, especially in regard to, you know, how you can when you make a model, how it puts less weight onto the game in general, because that's always the most important thing. Will the game work with such a art load, with so much blah blah blah to be created at the same time, etc. So I think clean and efficient, and you know, showing your skills, that you know how to help the development side with the art you create, you know, that you know the constraints, that you can't make a model that you understand that you have to make models with within certain technical constraints. So you can maybe show things in your portfolio where you show people how you overcome these obstacles, how you make these technically very efficient, etc. That would be one thing, I think, showing your strength on the technical knowledge side. Yani, you understand whom you serve, you know, that your model in the end will be part of something that needs to be optimized. And so maybe that would be some of your effort, you know, to learn to show how you can optimize things. But on the other side, I think maybe your skill would also be in characterization. I call it characterization. Like you know, you create for example, creating a character, but not only making this character physically three-dimensional, you know, really with all the shadows, but as a character as well. So maybe picking a certain facial impression that reveals a thought, picking the right posture that tells us something about what the person feels. So maybe that you have are you aware of a term like animation acting?
Yes, they heard about it.
Yeah, so but it's not only about, you know, placing the bones and, you know, rigging and blah blah blah, but it's about with every move reflecting a certain personality, you know. Yani, the way I give you a flower, you know, what changes as my hand stretches out, my face, my, you know, this moves, my eyes, my mouth, everything, and all this reveals the depth of the character. So it's not just a body that needs to be created, but it's also the expressive side. And if you can show beyond this only the skill to make a three-dimensional body in a good way, but start to be able to give the details about the expressive side. If you can start to show this, and you can use the light, of course, for it, but also maybe studying the face, studying the posture, etc. So I think that would be another side. The technical efficiency, the optimization side, but then the capacity to delve into the expressive side, into the emotional side of a character. So revealing emotions. And I think both of these are somehow important. Otherwise, it's, okay, I can make a model in Blender. Tap, tap, tap, tap, tap, tap, tap, tap. A light from here, a light from there. Oh, okay. But there's always this extra. And if you can give that, if you can work towards that and have a few samples in it, then I think it would make you stand out. But if you can do the basic job very good, that's also okay in a portfolio, I think. So you should look like, what are they looking for in this? They look for characters, they look for props, environment. You can pick certain tricky items to model and put them inside. Some will put certain animations in it. But I think my point would be, really be picky about what you put in the in your portfolio. And maybe you can also design your portfolio according to the places that you want to apply. So sometimes it doesn't need to be a general portfolio where you show everything, but for certain companies, you maybe go to them with only a part of your portfolio that fits them. So maybe you should also learn a bit to be about a flexible user, or using your portfolio in a flexible way, not always showing everything, but showing the really exemplary work that you have. And whatever you want to advertise your skills with, then put examples of these. And if you think you're very strong in this, show it. But the weaker things maybe, or if it's really not so advanced, there's no need to squeeze that in. In my opinion, because some people really they make this mistake. Oh, look, I made the flower. Okay, but it looks not nice, etc. Don't put it in the portfolio. I mean, because it's not something that makes you stand out as a person. It just tells the world that you are, like you're eager to show your work, but it's not there. Yeah, and the thing is not there. So no need for that. Instead, work a bit more and until you really have something nice, and then put it inside. Basically, that's what I think. But I'm not really an expert in art portfolios.
Thank you, Altuğ Hocam.
Any other question?
I don't think so.
If you don't think so, then I also think so.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome. I hope I wasn't too boring or too, I don't know, too chaotic. I hope you enjoyed your time, because chaos is my other name, as you know. So I hope you enjoyed your time. And as I said, if you want to stay connected, just look me up on LinkedIn and send me an invite, and I will just get back and add you. And in the future, maybe we can have a talk, or when you're ready to graduate, maybe we have a chance to talk about what we can do together. So nice to see you all, and so nice to see my old friends and new friends from Cyprus. And in 2 weeks, I think we make the Turkish version of this. Until then, have a great time. Çok iyi bakın kendinize.
Thank you again. Take care. Bye.
Yo, yo.